The massive space station floated in the darkness between stars. Its crystal walls sparkled with lights from 43 different worlds. Inside the Great Hall, alien beings from across the galaxy gathered for the most important meeting in centuries. Some looked like giant insects with clicking claws. Others glowed like living energy trapped in glass bottles. A few resembled walking trees with golden bark that hummed soft music. Jake Morrison sat alone in the visitors' gallery high above the main floor. His uniform bore the Earth Defense Corps symbol, but today it felt heavy on his shoulders. Below him, hundreds of alien delegates filled the chamber with strange sounds and colors. He had been coming to these meetings for 5 years, but today felt different. Today felt final. The blue-skinned leader of the meeting raised 4 arms for silence. His name was Veltar, and his people controlled the largest trade routes in the galaxy. When he spoke, his voice came out like singing water through the translation device. "Today we decide what to do about the humans," Veltar announced. The chamber erupted in noise, clicking, buzzing, whistling, and sounds that had no names in any human language. Jake watched as holographic images appeared above the crowd. Pictures of human colonies. Pictures of human ships. Pictures of human cities on worlds that aliens had once called impossible to live on. A creature that looked like a praying mantis the size of a car stepped forward. Her name was Queen Zakth, and she ruled billions of insect-like workers across 12 star systems. When she spoke, her voice sounded like grinding metal. "Look at what they have done," she said, pointing at the images with one sharp claw. 50 years ago, humans could barely leave their own planet. Now they live on 200 worlds. They change planets to fit their needs, instead of changing themselves to fit the planets. This is not natural. More images appeared. Human terraforming. Machines turning desert worlds into gardens. Human miners pulling resources from asteroids that other species could not reach. Human farmers growing food on planets where nothing had grown before. A being made of pure light contained in a crystal shell spoke next. Its voice came from everywhere at once, like an echo in an empty room. "Humans feel too much," it said. "Their emotions create waves that disturb our peace. Their wars, their love, their anger, their joy. It all creates chaos in the cosmic harmony we have maintained for thousands of years." Jake's assistant, Lisa Hayes, sat beside him taking notes on her tablet. She had been born on one of those human colonies the aliens were complaining about. Her parents had been farmers who turned a frozen wasteland into fertile soil. Now the aliens wanted to destroy everything her family had built. "They're afraid of us," Lisa whispered to Jake. "That's what this is really about." Jake nodded but said nothing. He had seen this coming for months. The alien governments had been meeting in secret, making plans. Human expansion had slowed their own growth. Human innovation had made their old technologies look primitive. Human adaptability had shown up their rigid thinking. More aliens spoke against humanity. The tree-like Sylvanians complained that humans cut down forests on dead worlds and replanted them with earth trees. The energy beings called humans emotionally unstable. The crystal people said human thoughts were too chaotic to predict. Each complaint was the same in different words. Humans changed things too fast. Humans adapted too quickly. Humans made other species look slow and stuck in old ways. Finally, Veltar called for the vote. "All in favor of Resolution 2847, the Exclusion Protocol?" Jake stood up as the votes came in. Green lights appeared above 42 alien delegations. Only one delegation, the distant Andromedans, showed yellow for undecided. No one voted against it. "The resolution passes," Veltar announced. "Humanity will be restricted to their home system. All human colonies will be evacuated. All trade agreements with humans are canceled. All joint projects will be terminated. This decision is final." Jake walked down to the main floor as the aliens began to leave. His footsteps echoed in the suddenly quiet chamber. When he reached Veltar, the blue-skinned leader looked down at him with 4 golden eyes. "This is a mistake," Jake said, his voice steady despite the anger burning in his chest. "Humans have given more to this galaxy in 50 years than some of your species have given in 1,000. You fear our growth because it shows your own stagnation. Beltar's response came without emotion. Humans will learn to exist within proper boundaries, or face the consequences. The galaxy has spoken. As Jake and Lisa left the station, reports were already coming in on their communication system. Alien fleets were moving toward human colonies across the galaxy. The blockade would begin immediately. Their ship, the diplomatic vessel Endeavor, jumped into hyperspace for the 3-week journey home to Earth. But Jake knew that by the time they arrived, everything would have changed. The age of human expansion was over. The age of human exile had begun. Lisa stared out the viewport at the swirling colors of hyperspace. "What do we do now?" she asked. Jake was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had just been challenged and was already planning their response. "Now we show them what happens when you try to cage humanity," he said. "They think they know us because we've been good neighbors for 50 years. They're about to learn the difference between choosing to cooperate and being forced to submit." Behind them, the space station grew smaller until it disappeared completely. Ahead of them lay Earth and 40 billion humans who were about to discover that the galaxy no longer wanted them as partners. The aliens had made their choice. Soon, humanity would make theirs. 3 months had passed since the vote. Now the largest military force in galactic history surrounded every human world outside the solar system. Alien ships formed perfect geometric patterns in space around each colony. Their weapons pointed inward at the human settlements below. On the farming world of New Montana, Colonel Ryan Davis watched transport ships load the last group of evacuees. The planet had been dismissed by alien surveys as barely livable because of its harsh winters and thin air. But humans had made it work. They created crops that thrived in the strange soil. They built greenhouses that could survive the brutal cold. Now this world fed 17 different star systems with food that even aliens had learned to love. "Sir, the hegemony cruisers are holding position at the system edge," reported Lieutenant Amy Park from the communications center. "They're letting our transport ships leave, but they've made it clear we can't come back." Davis nodded grimly. Through the observation window, he watched families saying goodbye to everything they had built. Children cried as they left behind pets that had adapted to New Montana's environment. These animals could not survive on Earth. Farmers abandoned experimental crops that had taken decades to develop. Their life's work would die in the alien-controlled soil. Mrs. Ellen Rodriguez, a third-generation colonist, stopped beside Davis as she carried her infant son toward the transport. Her family had been among the first to make New Montana bloom. "My grandfather died for this soil," she said, tears in her eyes. "My father built the first greenhouse with his own hands. Now we're just walking away." Davis had no words of comfort. The evacuation was necessary, but it felt like surrender. On the industrial world of Forge Station, Chief Engineer Dan Murphy faced a different problem. The mining platform was built into an asteroid rich with rare elements needed for faster-than-light travel. Both humans and aliens worked together here. The station's unique design let them process materials in ways that no single species could manage alone. "The Krillian work crews are being recalled," Murphy reported to Earth Command during his daily briefing. "Without them, we can't maintain full production. But without us, they can't refine the materials properly. They're cutting their own supply lines." His assistant, engineer Kate Williams, showed him holographic displays of the station's output over the past 10 years. "We're not just workers here," she said. "We're partners. The alien engineers learned from us just like we learned from them. They're destroying relationships that took years to build." Murphy watched through the station's main viewport as Krillian shuttles departed with their personnel. The insect-like aliens had been difficult to work with at first. Their hive-mind thinking clashed with human individualism, but over time, they had found ways to combine their different approaches. Krillian efficiency plus human creativity had produced miracles. Now that partnership was ending. Meanwhile, on the research station orbiting Proxima Centauri, Dr. Ben Clark watched alien scientists pack up joint research projects. The station had been humanity's first major collaboration with alien species. They studied quantum mechanics and dimensional physics together. Human intuition combined with alien computation had created breakthroughs that neither species could achieve alone. They're taking the theoretical frameworks, Dr. Clark told his colleague, Dr. Helen Ross. But they can't replicate our creative leaps. They can't see patterns where we see connections. They're taking half the solution and pretending it's complete. Dr. Ross pulled up files showing their collaborative work over the past 15 years. Medical breakthroughs that worked across species barriers, energy systems that adapted to any planetary condition, communication methods that transcended language differences. They don't understand that innovation comes from mixing different ways of thinking, she said. They want the results without the process. As the evacuation continued, across human space, the galaxy began to feel the effects immediately. Human-designed medical equipment stopped working without specialized maintenance. Crop yields dropped on worlds that had adopted human farming methods. Trade routes that depended on human commercial vessels fell into chaos as alien alternatives proved less efficient. The Zephyrian Trade Guild sent urgent messages to their government. Their profit margins were dropping as human logistics disappeared. The ethereal collective discovered that their psychic networks felt empty without human emotional input. Even the energy beings admitted that human chaos had actually provided balance to their ordered existence. But the combined fleet held firm. Admiral Kethvar of the Hegemony addressed his officers with confidence. Short-term disruption is acceptable, he declared. Long-term human domination is not. They will learn their place or they will remain isolated forever. The alien leaders convinced themselves that the economic problems would pass. They believed new systems would replace human contributions. They thought other species could fill the gaps that humanity left behind. They were wrong. On Earth, Jake Morrison delivered his report to the Global Assembly. The evacuation was nearly complete, but the cost was enormous. 200 colonies abandoned, millions of humans displaced, decades of progress erased. They see our compliance as weakness, Jake told the assembled leaders. They think we're accepting their judgment. They don't understand that we're regrouping. President Robert Hayes stood to address the assembly. How many of our people chose to stay behind? 15,000 volunteers, Jake replied. Scientists, engineers, intelligence operatives, they're going underground on alien worlds. They'll provide information and maintain contact with resistance cells. Lisa Hayes, now promoted to captain, added her report. The aliens are already having problems. Food shortages on 12 worlds. Medical equipment failures on 37 stations. 3 major trade routes have collapsed completely. President, Hayes nodded. How long before they realize their mistake? They won't, Jake said simply. They're too proud to admit they need us. They'll blame their problems on everything except the truth. Outside the assembly building, construction crews worked around the clock on mysterious projects. Orbital shipyards, that had been quiet for years, suddenly buzzed with activity. Research facilities expanded overnight. The brightest minds from evacuated colonies arrived daily, bringing with them knowledge and experience that could not be replaced. The galaxy thought humanity was retreating. They saw the evacuation as admission of defeat. They celebrated the end of human expansion as a victory for galactic stability. They failed to understand that humanity's greatest strength had always been the ability to learn, adapt, and come back stronger. The quiet in human space was not surrender. It was preparation. And deep in classified facilities across Earth, that preparation was beginning to bear fruit in ways the galaxy could not imagine. While the galaxy celebrated what they thought was humanity's defeat, Earth was quietly becoming something it had never been before. For the first time in human history, every nation worked together toward a single goal. The evacuation had brought home more than just people. It had brought home knowledge, experience, and a burning desire to prove the aliens wrong. President Robert Hayes stood before the Global Assembly in Geneva. Representatives from every nation on Earth filled the Great Hall. Outside, construction crews worked day and night on projects that would have seemed impossible just months before. For 50 years we were students among the stars, Hayes said, to the assembled leaders. We learned their languages, used their technologies, and followed their rules. We built bridges, where they saw only empty space. Today, those bridges are burning, but we will not stand in the ashes and cry. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Laura Kim walked through corridors that had not existed 6 months ago. The underground facility stretched for miles in every direction. It housed the brightest minds evacuated from human colonies across the galaxy. They had brought more than just memories. They carried samples, prototypes, and years of experience working with alien technologies. "We figured out how their shield generators work," Dr. Kim reported to the project committee. "But we've done more than copy them. We've improved them. Their designs are good for long-term stability. Ours are built for moment-to-moment adaptation." Her team included specialists like Dr. Carl Foster, who had run medical research on Titan Station, and Dr. Nina Chen, who had been the chief engineer on Europa Complex. Each person brought unique knowledge gained from years of working alongside alien partners. Now they were combining that knowledge in ways the aliens had never imagined. "The Zephyrians build everything to last 1,000 years, Dr. Chen explained as she showed holographic blueprints to her colleagues. "That makes their technology reliable but predictable. We're building systems that can change their function in real time based on what they encounter." In Earth's orbital shipyards, Admiral Peter Stone watched as humanity's new fleet took shape. The ships rising from the construction platforms looked unlike anything humans had built before. They used lessons learned from alien design, but filtered through human innovation and desperation. "The aliens build ships like monuments," Stone told his staff officers. "Beautiful, lasting, and easy to predict. We're building ships like storms. Fast, adaptable, and devastating when they need to be." The flagship under construction had been named the New Horizon. Its hull used materials developed from asteroid mining operations that humans had perfected in alien space. Its weapons combined human kinetic theory with alien energy manipulation. Its command systems were designed around human intuition, enhanced by alien computational power. Commander Tony Martinez studied the ship's technical specifications with growing amazement. He had been chosen to captain the New Horizon, and every day he discovered new capabilities built into his vessel. "She's not just a warship," Martinez told his executive officer, Commander Rachel Green. "She's a statement. Every system tells the galaxy exactly who we are and what we can do." Across Earth's continents, the transformation continued. Factories that had made civilian goods retooled for military production. Universities that had competed with each other now collaborated on projects that would have taken decades before the crisis. The evacuated population had brought home humanity's greatest resource, people who had learned to think beyond the limits of a single world. In a secure communication facility in Australia, encrypted messages flowed between Earth and human operatives, still hidden in alien space. Agent Kyle Porter, working undercover on a Krillian mining world, sent regular reports about alien fleet movements. Intelligence Officer Megan Clark, posing as a researcher on a Zephyrian science station, provided crucial information about political divisions within the combined fleet alliance. "The aliens are starting to have serious problems," Porter reported during a quantum-encrypted briefing. "Food shortages are spreading. Their medical systems are failing without human maintenance. Some of the younger Krillians are questioning why they expelled the people who helped them build their prosperity." Clark's reports were even more encouraging. "The Zephyrian trade guilds are losing massive amounts of money. 3 major shipping routes have collapsed completely. The government is facing pressure from their own business leaders to end the blockade." But the most important work was happening in facilities that did not officially exist. Project Renaissance had become the largest scientific collaboration in human history. Evacuated experts worked alongside Earth's best minds to solve problems that had puzzled alien scientists for centuries. Dr. Sarah Kim, Laura's sister, and a specialist in quantum physics, made a breakthrough that changed everything. Working with samples of alien technology and human intuition, she discovered how to make weapons that existed in multiple states simultaneously. "Alien shields work by analyzing incoming threats and adapting to stop them," she explained to the research team. "But what if the threat changes its fundamental nature after the shield has already analyzed it? What if a projectile becomes an energy beam only after it passes through the shield? The implications were staggering. Human weapons could bypass alien defenses not through brute force but through physics that the aliens had never considered possible. Meanwhile, communication networks across Earth buzzed with activity as the planet's leadership coordinated humanity's response. The silence that the aliens interpreted as submission was actually the sound of 40 billion people working together with focused determination. General Patricia Wells, Earth's new military coordinator, reviewed reports from every major project. Shipbuilding ahead of schedule, weapons testing exceeding all expectations, intelligence gathering providing detailed information about alien weaknesses and internal conflicts. How long until we're ready? President Hayes asked during a classified briefing. 6 weeks for the first phase, Wells replied. 3 months for full deployment. But sir, when we move, it needs to be decisive. We won't get a second chance at surprise. Hayes nodded. The galaxy assumed that Earth's silence meant acceptance of their new isolation. They failed to understand that humanity's greatest advantage had always been the ability to learn from setbacks and emerge stronger than before. The quiet in human space was not the silence of defeat. It was the calm before the storm, and that storm was almost ready to begin. The moment came without warning or formal announcement. Earth's response did not begin with a message to the Galactic Council or a declaration of war. It began with a single word broadcast simultaneously to every alien vessel, station, and homeworld across the galaxy. The transmission cut through all communication channels, overrode security protocols, and reached every corner of known space with perfect clarity. Enough. President Hayes spoke the word himself, but the technology that delivered it represented months of humanity's greatest effort. The signal did not just carry sound. It carried emotion, determination, and an unmistakable message that resonated across species barriers. Every alien in the galaxy heard it in their own language, in their own mind, spoken with absolute authority. Within hours, the galaxy learned what enough meant in practical terms. Admiral Stone's fleet emerged from hyperspace at exactly the same moment in 47 different star systems. The ships that appeared looked nothing like the vessels that had fled during the evacuation. These craft moved with deadly grace, their hulls seeming to bend light around them as they deployed in formations that no alien tactician had ever seen. Before Captain Martinez, commanding the New Horizon, opened communication channels with the combined fleet forces surrounding the former human colony of Kepler Station. His voice was calm, but carried an edge that made every alien commander pay attention. This is Captain Antonio Martinez of the Earth Defense Force. You have 30 minutes to withdraw from this system and release the human personnel you have detained. This is not a request. The response from Admiral Kethvar of the Hegemony Fleet was immediate and dismissive. Human vessel, return to your quarantine zone immediately or face the consequences of your defiance. You are outnumbered 50-1. Martinez's reply came not in words, but in demonstration. The New Horizon's main weapon fired a single shot that passed completely through the Hegemony flagship's shields as if they did not exist. The shot precisely disabled the massive alien vessel's main reactor without harming a single crew member. The ship went dark, while suffering no casualties, a feat of precision that should have been impossible. Your shields are designed to stop energy weapons and deflect solid projectiles, Martinez explained over the open channel. Our weapons exist in both states at the same time until the moment they hit their target. We learned this from your own quantum physicists, then improved on their theories. Across the galaxy, similar demonstrations unfolded. Human vessels commanded by officers like Captain Steve Johnson and Captain Maria Santos displayed capabilities that combined familiar alien technologies in ways their creators had never imagined. Shields that changed their properties in real time to match incoming threats. Weapons that shifted between energy and matter to bypass any defense. Propulsion systems that folded space rather than pushing through it. On Nexus Prime, Ambassador, Beltar received panicked reports from 47 different battle zones simultaneously. In each case, human forces disabled alien vessels without destroying them, rescued detained human personnel, and withdrew before alien reinforcements could arrive. The precision was disturbing. Humans were proving they could strike anywhere in the galaxy at will, yet they showed remarkable restraint in their use of this power. How is this possible? Veltar demanded of his tactical advisors. 3 months ago, they were fleeing in civilian transports. Today, they deploy technology that makes our most advanced warships look primitive. The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Eleanor Murphy, who had once directed human-alien scientific collaboration projects, addressed the Galactic Council via quantum transmission from the bridge of the New Horizon. Her image appeared in the great crystal chamber where the exclusion protocol had been voted into existence. "You taught us everything we needed to know," she explained to the assembled alien delegates. "For 50 years, we worked alongside your scientists, engineers, and technicians. We learned not just your technologies but your limitations. You build for your species' specific needs and capabilities. We learned to build for adaptability itself." Dr. Murphy's presentation included holographic displays showing human innovations built upon alien foundations, medical technologies that worked across species barriers, environmental systems that adapted to any planetary condition, communication methods that transcended language and cultural differences. "You excluded us because you feared our expansion," she continued. "But expansion was never our goal. Connection was. We never sought to dominate the galaxy. We sought to contribute to it. You forced us to demonstrate what humanity can accomplish when we focus entirely on a single purpose." The demonstration continued for exactly 6 hours. In system after system, human forces appeared, disabled alien military assets, rescued human prisoners, and departed. Not a single alien life was lost, but the message was unmistakable. Humanity could have destroyed the combined fleet entirely if they had chosen to do so. But the most shocking moment came when the human fleet reached the Krillian homeworld. Queen Zaxth, who had been one of the strongest supporters of the exclusion protocol, watched from her throne chamber as human ships surrounded her planet's orbital defenses. Her military advisors assured her that the planet's shields could withstand any attack. Captain Johnson's voice came through every communication device on the planet. "Your Majesty, we are not here to attack your world. We are here to return something that belongs to you." Human transport ships approached the planet carrying Krillian workers who had been stranded on human colonies during the evacuation. Workers that Queen Zaxth had assumed were lost forever. The humans had cared for them, protected them, and now returned them safely home despite being at war with the Krillian government. "We do not fight innocent people," Johnson explained as the transports landed. "We fight governments that make bad decisions. Your people worked alongside us for decades. They are our friends, regardless of what your leaders have decided." The gesture sent shockwaves through the Krillian population. Here were the humans that their government had declared dangerous expansionists, returning their people safely and asking for nothing in return. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. Humans returned alien civilians who had been caught in human space during the crisis. They provided medical aid to alien colonies facing emergencies. They shared technological solutions to problems that alien governments were struggling to solve. Within 24 hours of the word "enough" being broadcast, the political landscape of the galaxy had completely changed. The combined fleet, which had seemed so powerful and united, began to fracture as individual species reconsidered their positions. The Andromedan Collective was the first to officially break ranks. Their ambassador sent a message directly to Earth. "The Andromedans have observed human behavior for 2 centuries. Today's actions prove what we have always suspected. Humans could have conquered us at any time. The fact that they chose cooperation over conquest reveals their true character." As reports flooded in from across the galaxy, one thing became clear. The war that everyone had expected was not going to happen. Instead, something far more significant was taking place. The galaxy was learning what humanity truly represented, and many species were questioning why they had ever agreed to exclude such valuable partners. The war that everyone expected never came. Instead, something far more powerful began to happen. The combined fleet, which had seemed so united against humanity, started to break apart from within. Species that had voted for the exclusion protocol began to change their minds as the consequences became impossible to ignore. The Andromedan Collective made the first official move. Ambassador Zarath appeared before the Galactic Council with a message that shocked everyone present. The Andromedans have watched humans for 2 centuries, she declared to the assembled delegates. They do not seek conquest. They seek partnership. Yesterday's demonstrations proved they could have destroyed us all at any time during the past 50 years. The fact that they chose cooperation over domination speaks to their character, not their weakness. On the industrial world of Vega Prime, Krillian miners watched helplessly as their automated systems failed without human maintenance protocols. The sophisticated machinery that humans had helped design and build began shutting down across the colony. Without the hybrid technology that combined Krillian efficiency with human innovation, production dropped by 80% in just 2 weeks. Queen Zacht faced angry delegations from her own people as unemployment spread through Krillian space. The workers who had been returned safely by human forces spoke of their treatment during the crisis. Instead of imprisonment or hostility, they had been cared for, fed, and treated as honored guests. The humans protected us when they had every reason to abandon us, reported Chief Worker Kliktar to his queen. They gave us better medical care than we receive in our own hives. They asked for nothing in return except that we remember their kindness. The ethereal collective discovered that human emotional chaos had actually been providing essential balance to their psychic networks. Without human presence, their collective consciousness began experiencing what could only be described as depression. The uniform peace they had sought felt empty and gray without the creative sparks that human emotions had provided. Meanwhile, Earth's response evolved beyond military demonstration. The New Horizon and her sister ships began what Admiral Stone called sanctuary protocols. Human vessels appeared in systems experiencing natural disasters, equipment failures, and medical emergencies. They provided aid regardless of the species involved or their government's position on the exclusion protocol. Captain Martinez led relief efforts on Tau Ceti 7 after a solar flare damaged the planet's defense systems. His crew worked alongside Zephyrian engineers to restore power to millions of civilians. The collaboration was so natural that both species forgot they were supposed to be enemies. "We're not here as conquerors," Martinez explained to the Zephyrian colony administrator as they watched the lights come back on across the planet's major cities. "We're here as neighbors. That hasn't changed regardless of what your government prefers." Dr. Clark, operating from the research vessel Discovery, began sharing crucial medical breakthroughs with alien colonies facing disease outbreaks. Treatments had been developed through human-alien collaboration and proved effective across species barriers in ways that purely alien medicine could not match. These actions created pressure on the Galactic Council from an unexpected direction. Their own citizens began questioning why their governments had excluded the very species that consistently provided help in times of crisis. Protests erupted on dozens of worlds. Zephyrian trade workers demanded the return of human commercial partners. Sylvanian farmers called for the restoration of human agricultural advisors. Even energy beings admitted they missed the unpredictable creativity that human presence had brought to their research projects. The breaking point came when the hegemony homeworld faced complete ecological collapse. Centuries of industrial contamination had poisoned the planet's atmosphere beyond the ability of traditional hegemony environmental systems to repair. The damage was spreading, threatening to make the world uninhabitable within months. Admiral Kethvar, the same officer who had dismissed humanity's warning 3 months earlier, found himself in an unprecedented position. His own planet was dying, and only human-developed bioremediation technology offered any hope of salvation. The request for aid came through diplomatic channels, carefully worded to avoid admitting the hegemony's desperation. But Captain Lisa Hayes, now commanding the environmental restoration ship Terra Verde, understood the real situation immediately. "How long do they have?" she asked her science officer as they reviewed the environmental data. 6 months before the atmospheric damage becomes irreversible, came the reply. 8 months before the planet becomes uninhabitable for their species. Hayes made the decision without consulting Earth Command. Set course for the hegemony homeworld. Full speed. When the Terra Verde arrived in hegemony space, Kethivar met Hayes aboard his flagship. The proud admiral who had once threatened humanity now looked tired and defeated. Why? He asked simply. Why help us after what we did to your people? Hayes looked out at the brown, poisoned atmosphere of the planet below. Because that's what neighbors do. Because your world is home to billions of innocent people who had nothing to do with political decisions. Because healing is what we do. Working together, human and hegemony teams deployed atmospheric processors and biological restoration systems across the planet. Within weeks, the skies began to clear for the first time in decades. Plants started growing in soil that had been barren for generations. This is what we always offered, Hayes told Kethivar as they watched children play outside without breathing masks for the first time in their lives. Not replacement, but enhancement. Not domination, but cooperation. The transformation spread across the galaxy like ripples in a pond. Species after species began reconsidering their position on the exclusion protocol. The economic disruption had been severe, but the real loss was becoming clear. They had expelled their most innovative partners and their most reliable allies. The Galactic Council reconvened 6 months after humanity's demonstration. This time, the human delegation was not seated in the visitors' gallery. President Hayes, accompanied by representatives from dozens of human colonies and their alien partners, addressed the assembly from the main floor. You tried to exclude us because you feared what we might become, Hayes stated, his words carrying the weight of recent events. Today, we offer you the chance to discover what we can accomplish together. The choice, as it has always been, is yours. The vote to repeal the exclusion protocol passed with only 2 dissenting voices. But more importantly, the Council approved the establishment of the Cooperative Development Initiative. This new framework would govern galactic civilization based on collaboration rather than competition, innovation rather than stagnation. As the New Horizon led humanity's official return to the stars, Captain Martinez reflected on the lessons learned during humanity's brief exile. In his captain's log, he wrote his final thoughts on the crisis. We learned that our greatest strength was never our technology or our determination. It was our ability to see possibilities where others saw problems, to build bridges where others built walls. The galaxy tried to exclude us from their future. Instead, they helped us realize that the future belongs to all of us, if we have the courage to build it together. The galaxy had changed. Humanity had changed too. But for the first time in centuries, both were exactly what they needed to be. Partners in building something greater than any single species could achieve alone.